Today, on the seventh day of World Mental Health Week, we have a very unique guest speaker with us, Honorable Dr. Sushma Suri ma'am. She is presently a professor at Department of Psychology, Jamia Millia University, New Delhi. Also a member at Indian Academy of Applied Psychology and National Academy of Psychology too. She has a vast experience in the field of teaching and research, also participated in various national and international conferences. Today, she is going to enlighten us on a very relevant topic, that is mental health, reducing stress, and cultivating compassion. So, not taking too much time, now I would like to request our honorable guest to kindly proceed today's session. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Samya, and all the organizer. Thanks for inviting me for the. I am going to share my views and my psychology with my august audience. Whatsoever in this given time period I can provide, I am going to share with them. So today I am going to talk about reducing stress and cultivating compassion. Now the question before us is why only I am talking about mental health, reducing stress. Uh, yeah. So, first of all, I would like to share the very previous, in the year 1948, what the mental health was according to the World Health Organization. He defined health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being. We all know about that. So, but now, while the definition of health has shifted from the traditional World Health Organization's state of complete physical, mental, and social being, and not merely what we mean to say that not merely the absence of disease. We cannot say that the person is very mentally fit if he or she does not have any disease. Apart from the absence of disease, he or she has physical and mental and social well-being should also be there. So current definition incorporated the ability for oneself to adapt and self-manage social, physical, and emotional. What I wanted to convey over here in the beginning, they only talked about physical, mental, and social, but now they come a little bit more on that. That is what? That is your emotional challenges also. Emotional challenges is why very important, because we are the human being and we are dealing with our emotions every day. We have to come across so many people, so many stressors, so many clues in the given environment, and we have to work accordingly. So what they said self manage. This is very important. If it is there, you have to manage yourself. Self manage social, physical, emotional challenges. Mean to say, they are focusing more on how can you manage yourself. So this is a study by Cholhan and Huber et al. In 2011. After that, WHO again in 2019 revised the definition of health. According to that, the extent to which an individual or group is able to realize aspirations and satisfy needs and to change or cope with the environment. The very important part for a long period of time, what they are talking about, they are talking and focusing more on the environmental factor. Why environmental factor is very important in our life, to cope with the environment, that is very important. Not only social, physical, and mental well-being. Apart from that, how can we take the challenges present in the environment? So this is study by this is the definition by WHO. If we want to define health in 2019, we need to focus on having a healthy interaction with our surrounding world and adapt the challenges to our ever changing world. That is very, very important. So, a researcher, Cannon and Fish, 2000 stated that health psychology includes psychology's contribution to the enhancement of health, the prevention and treatment of illness, the identification of health risk factors, the improvement of healthcare system, and shaping of public opinion with regard to health. Why they are focusing more on environmental factor? Because the scenario has changed. So health psychology is concerned particularly with all aspects of health and illness across the life span. So we are not now we are not just confined to the narrow one. We are going to be very broad in the context of mental health. Health psychologists focus on health promotion and maintenance, etiology and correlates of health, illness, and dysfunction. How can we make ourselves, how can we say that this is the good mental health? We have to look after all the factors. What are these factors? Uh, every factor related to the illness across the lifespan. Etiology is also very, very important. What are the symptoms? What are the reason? Correlates. What are the factors responsible for health, illness, and dysfunction? He will put focus on these factors, then only we can make good mental health, or we can provide, or we can think of the positive mental health. Etiology refer to the origin or causes of illness, and health psychologists are especially interested in the behavioral and social factor that contribute to health or illness and dysfunction. Such factor includes health habit. Why we are talking about this? Because health habit is very, very important nowadays. We are talking in terms of the current scenario and generational change, such as alcohol, smoking, and so many. They are not putting the seat belt, and they are not trying to coping with all these are the very, very important aspects that we have to keep into our mind. So around 1960, and now I come to the point. So there are so many factors, not only one or two factor. So many factors are available for the good mental health, and mental health is not related to one or two factor. But apart from all these so many factors, we do not have this much time to talk about all the factors. So I am going to take one factor, that is stress, keeping in mind the current scenario, right? So now I am going to talk about health. Around 1960, Hensele proposed that stress is part of human condition. So two factor I am going to discuss with you today, sharing with you. One is stress, and that is the very important cause for mental health, poor mental health. And the another one is compassion. So our duty is first to know what is stress. The second one is how to deal with the stress. We cannot deny the fact that we are in 21st century and we are facing all these things in a very rapid manner. So I am talking in terms of history. Hence, Sale was proposed the stress in part of the human condition, and he said that it's a global epidemic. Stress, particularly, is a global epidemic. By the turn of 21st century, stress has clearly become a way of life, although not necessary a good one. What they are saying, it is coming with our life. Parallel, we are going. Every day we are facing a stress. Every day we have to come across different kinds of stress. So there are so many stressors in our life. I can just share with you daily hassles, that is also the stressors for us. Then life events that are also, sometimes we have to come across cataclysmic sources of stress, like a flood and tsunami, flood, and all that man-made cataclysmic also is terrorist activities, and so on. So the nature of the stress has changed in this 21st century. What is it? According to this, a 24 into 7 society where everything and everyone is accessible all the time. This is the one very important factor for 24 into 7. Mean to say, we are not thinking about ourselves. We are not restricting ourselves to the time. We are not going to think about our well being. So, this one is also a very important part for just to getting stress. The second one is the rapid change from technology to economics to family dynamics. I think you all aware that family dynamics still have changed. Now we all have the nuclear family, and we have to cope each and every aspects of our life alone. So this is also a very, very demanding, and this is also a very important factor in life, that is family dynamics. After that, growing threat of terrorism, global warming, other changing world dynamics. World dynamics are also changing, so we have to come across. So now in 2020, 21, 22, we have faced end of the 20, starting in 21 and 22, we have faced a pandemic that is known as corona, that is really a very good example of all these kinds of behavior. All of a sudden, you we can say that this is the changing world dynamics. After that, greater responsibilities and seemingly less freedom. Why less freedom? Because the family structure has changed, work demand has changed. So these are the demand of the society that we have to fulfill in order to continue with the race of the society. So the number of stressors in our lives appear to be increasing. See, this is a picture. What are the factor for stress? What these are the small stressors. I am not talking, or I am not telling you, or not sharing with you the very big stressor. This is just simply family, work, home. Then gym also important, small things also is important. You have to go to your friend also important. You have to spend some time, that is also very important. So when we fix supply, demand and supply, when the demand is over goes to our head, we become the victim of stress. So popular view of stress, eastern philosophies have viewed stress as absence of inner peace. Eastern philosophies, but I think still it is burning, and still it is acceptable to the society. Inner peace, absence of inner peace. Western culture has more recently viewed stress as a loss of control. Definitely, when we can't control our demands, when it goes beyond, we become the victim of the stress. It is also viewed as an inability to cope with the problem. So, definition are often based on various discipline of the studies. So, this is not only the case for the psychology, it is also the case for physiologists, sociologists, anthropologists, theologists, etc. So, there are many different definition of stress, that is loss of emotional control, wear and tear on the body, and inability to cope, and absence of inner peace, etc., etc. But Richard Lejar's view of stress is a state of anxiety concerned with events and one's coping abilities. So I am going to talk particularly in the concept of talking particularly from the per se of Lazarus view. Why I am taking Lazarus view? There are other theorists also, Hensele. They did a lot on stress, but I am not going to take that. Just only in the beginning, I talked about that. I am taking this concept. This is basically based on psychological interpretation of the stress, and that is very much applicable in our day to day life. So, what the Lazarus said, he said that interpretation of the stressful event is more important than the event themselves. I am just sharing event. Anything happen in front of you, right? That is not the reason for your stress. The reason for your stress is how can you perceive that particular event. There are 10 people out of 10, 3 people are taking these events as the very uh, they said that this is nothing, it has come, it will go. So they are very relaxed, they are not taking very negatively that, and they are not reacting in a very negative manner. But on the other side, 3 or 4 or 6 persons, they become panic out of these present event. So the most important part here is how a stressful event we can interpret. Mean to say, perception of the events depends. Stress depends upon the perception of the events. How you perceive the things. Neither the environmental event nor the person's response define stress. What defines stress? According to Lijaras, and this is a very acceptable, known psychological interpretation of stress, that individual's perception of the psychological situation is the critical factor. How we are perceiving the things, in a good manner, in a bad manner, in a panic manner, or in a very negative manner. It all depends upon the individual. So, interpretation of the thing is very, very important. So, psychological factor, Lejar's emphasis on interpretation and perception differs from of Seeley. Seeley theory was very important also. He talked about the bodily changes during the stress, but here that is not the topic of uh, concern today, so I am not going to talk more about that. So this is very important one. Now the question before us is, okay, uh, we have come across, we have interpreted the thing. Here we are talking in terms of mental health. How to cope? Should we carry that stress forward with us, or should we stop or manage that stress within the given scenario just to improve or make our mental health positive? So, coping is very, very important phenomenon to control stress. Apart, coping is particularly a very technical psychological term I am going to share. Apart from that, there are so many daily activities that can you can use to maintain your or manage your stress. But coping is very technical and very powerful technique, so I wanted to share this with you people. Coping is all about managing stress, taking charge of one's thought, emotion, schedule, and the way to deal with their problem. Coping is defined as the thoughts and behavior used to manage the intentional and internal and external demand of situation that are appraised as stressful, right? So there are many ways of coping with stress. The effectiveness depends upon the type of stressors, the particular individual, and the circumstances. Again, the same thing I would like to share, that stressors, the nature of the stressors. That is very, very important. What kind of a stressor, whether it is daily hassles or whether it is life event or whether it is cataclysmic. We have to deal differently with the different stressors. We cannot use one particular technique for all the stressors. So first we have to specify and categorize what are the stressors and the nature of the stressors. Again, individual. Again, the circumstances. It all are the very, very important factor that we have to keep in mind. So first of all, and this is very simple and accessible to all, personal resources influencing coping. What is this personal resource? Suggested a number of personal resources that could help people manage the demand of a stressful situation. The most important personal resources for coping with stress are social support. I think many of you have come across or experienced in your life that social support is a very important aspect in your life. I am going to add one more thing: social support and your family support. Any condition, any kind of condition, if your social support and family support is there, you definitely sooner or later you will win the race. So a sense of personal control and optimistic belief, social support, friends, family are important weapon against the damaging effect of stress. So in fact, some argue that social support is the single most vital resource against stress. I will not say that this is only the single, but definitely it is very, very important one. So, social support can be described as the perception that one has relationship with others who can deliver the crisis, and those who are lonely. Definitely the behavior of these two persons who are in isolation or who are in relationship with your neighbor, with friends, with family, that is very, very important. So social support is one of the most documented phenomenon. In fact, number of researches have been done on that in health psychology, in social psychology, and they all talk about that it benefits the physical health and mental health both. In the words of Thomas Potts, the breakdown in the social support structure precipitates a breakdown in the body's immune. You see, this is a very big quotation that he emphasized the importance of social support. Social resources are composed of three components. What are these three components? Social network, social relationship, and social support. All these are very, very important. Now, the categories of social support have been recognized. How can we recognize? In the form of emotional, in the form of tangible, in the form of informational, and companionship is also there. So you see, all these are so much important in our life. Emotional, expression of feeling, indicating value and worth. It embeds with warmth, nurturance provided by the source of support. Tangible, describe the concept of provision, financial assistance, material goods, services, etc. After that, information, that is information, advice, guidance, suggestion, help others. After that, companionship, that is your relationship, presence and engagement with your group, engagement with your friends, engagement with your family, etc. So the importance of environment as a perceived by the individual in understanding coping behavior and reaction to stress is well known. Now, I am going to discuss about you internal locus of control. The concept of locus of second factor is ability to cope. How can we cope? Some people said, no, this is not possible for us to do anything. It means that they are not guided by their internal locus of control. Their self-esteem is very low. Their self-perception is very low. They think about, mean to say they have very low self-esteem. So, the concept of locus of control refers to whether you feel your life is controlled by you or forces outside yourself. So, internal versus external. Internal one is control feel that they have a choice in their lives and control over their circumstances. External one is who believe that luck, fate, act, other governs their lives. And with my experience on the basis of researches, I can say that internal one is more powerful as compared to the external locus of control. Apart from optimism, this is not only for the psychologist, this is for everyone, even for the layman, those who are very optimistic in their life, they will win the race. Optimists are individuals who expect good things to happen to them, whereas pessimists are people who generally expect bad things. The defining feature of optimism is not positive mood. This is not only, we are not talking about the mood, but rather more a person's general belief that good things will happen. This belief considerably influences both mental and physical health as well as how people cope with the stress. So, this is totally in your hand how to deal with. Apart from that, coping strategies, these two are very well known coping strategies. Number one is problem focus, and number two is emotional focus. So, problem focus basically is very practical one. It emphasizes proactive, constructive effort to take action about a stressful situation. This approach demonstrates in the people who, although realizing that the occurrence of a hurricane is completely out of their control, still work to be as optimally prepared as possible by stockpiling emergency supplies and creating mean to say we know something is not under our control, but we can go and try to solve the problem using 1, 2, 3, 4 techniques. So it can be like using time management strategies when one feels overwhelmed by a busy timetable, taking to HR if one feels crushing demands or harassment at work, using conflict resolution strategies too. So we have to fight, we will not flight, we have to fight to deal with the situation. Whether if we have exam, we have to manage things accordingly. And the another one is emotional focus, that is basically oriented towards dealing with the emotions, right? Again, I would like to say that is effective, but not as effective as the problem solving. So, calling up a friend and complaining about a problem is emotional focus coping. These strategies include maintaining a sense of humor, cultivating optimism where the situation does not change, but your perception of it does. What I mean to say, your problem has not solved over here, but what has happened? Just you take the things in a very positive manner. Sometimes it is not very helpful if we have an exam and we are talking to friends about the exam and we are not going to read, that is not applicable. So we have to see the situation, we have to see the stress, we have to see the nature of the stress, etc., etc. So This is a stress management, that is technical one. Apart from that, exercise, travel, motivation, music, relax. Not only these, so many other strategies are also there. So what we have to do, we have to choose that what are beneficial for us, and we have to follow that. So one part, stress, it will reduce the stress, it will manage the stress. We cannot eradicate, or we can't say that we had eliminated, that is not, because this is the part of our life. I told you this is 24 into 7, and we have to come across all these daily. We have a new situation, new stressors present in the outer world, but we have to choose out of them. We have to manage, we have to choose things in a very wise manner. One part, then we can enhance positive mental health. The another part, one thing I totally focused about the interpretation. I talk about the positiveness. I share with you optimistic behavior and coping strategies. Now I am going to share with you compassion. Okay, what is it? Many health problems can be prevented by regularly engaging in healthy lifestyle behavior. There is a model of biopsychosocial model of health. What they talk, that is also a very good model of health. They said health is not only the outcome of biomedical model. Okay, not only if we are sick, not only we have to go to the doctor, we have to go to the doctor also, we have to follow up the lifestyle also, and we have to look up the social factor also. So there is a system and combination of bio medical part, the psychological part, and biopsychosocial and sociological and social part. When we club together all these three, we will get a very good result of our mental and physical health. So health promoting behavior, meta analysis of these overreaching theories have, meta analysis means a collection of number of researches. They talk about their validity in health behavior modification, and they said mediating and moderating factor in the relationship between social cognitive variable and health behavior still need to be clarified. Among these factors, self compassion, so many other factors are also responsible, but self compassion is a very, very important uh, construct or variable, was shown to have a potential role in the health promoting behavior. Outlined a provisional blueprint for understanding the possible pathway through which self compassion may play a role in the self regulation. Self, again I am coming to the self regulation. I told you self esteem, I told you self control, I told you internal locus of control. Again I am talking about self regulation. The mean to say that you have to focus totally on yourself first, then you will try to do anything for others. So self compassion was posited to facilitate effective health behavior regulation via several processes that are central to self regulation: setting goal, taking action, attention, evaluating of ongoing things, and emotional regulation. You see, this is for everyone. Self regulation, setting goal, you have to set goal in your life, what to do, where to go, whether it is your school life, whether it is your college life, whether it is you going for job or for marriage or anything, taking action, then attention, and then evaluating of ongoing things, what is going on in your life. So don't put the key to your happiness in someone else's pocket, right? आपको अपना सुधार खुद से ही करना है. You have to Work for yourself first. So, what is compassion, self compassion? Basically, it is derived from Buddhist psychology, but the construct is conceptualized in secular term within the scientific literature. बहुत काम भी हुआ है, number of studies has been done. Compassion can be extended towards the self when suffering occurs through no fault, no one's own, where the external circumstances of life are simply hard to bear. समझ आ रही है बात? सेल्फ कंपेशन इज इक्वली रेलिवेंट. However, when suffering stems from our own mistake, failure, or personal inadequacy, according to Neff, self-compassion entails three main components which overlap. Mean to say, both are interrelated. What are these? Self-kindness, self-judgment, feeling of common humanity versus isolation, mindfulness versus over identification, etc. So, self compassion consists of these three very important things. One is seeing self objectively, mindfulness, self kindness, humanity. Recognizing when stresses or struggling without overreacting or being judgmental towards yourself. Being supportive and understanding towards yourself during a hard time rather than being self critical. Recognizing that you are not alone in the mistake you make or the difficulties you might experience. Mean to say, when you put attention on that, you will be the winner. So, what is the benefits for self compassion? Is very important. Though the different aspects of self compassion are experienced differently, they also interact with one another to produce beneficial effect in dealing with suffering or failure. If you become calm, quiet, kind, and you are following humanistic and everything, then you can behave nicely with other also. Second one is your mindfulness, that is self-criticism, increases self-understanding, thus directly enhancing self-kindness. It also counters egocentrism. I think you all know egocentrism is a very uh, ego is better in the terms of Freud, but in day-to-day life or in layman's term, when we talk about very egoistic person, that is not very acceptable, and that is not very positive towards their self as well for the others. That causes feeling of isolation and separateness from rest of humanity, thereby increased feeling of interconnectedness. That is very important, interconnectedness. So, self kindness and feeling of connectedness can serve to further increase mindfulness. For example, if one stops judging and bearing oneself long enough to experience a degree of self acceptance, the negative impact of the emotional experience will lessen. Adopting a self-compassionate mindset allows people to cope with myriad difficulties and stresses by treating themselves with care and kindness. Mean to say, not all the time in hurry, not all the time criticize yourself, not all the time be negative. So it also provides emotional resilience, playing a role in promoting one's mental health through less intense self evolution, ego defensiveness, self enhancement. So it has been linked to practice of health behavior, although its impact on self-regulation is general. Mean to say, it is also very much important in self-regulating behavior. So all aspects of self-compassion, that is self-kindness, common humanity, mindfulness, have been found to be positively associated with healthy lifestyle. Now, the question before us is whether self compassion is same as self esteem. Self compassion versus self esteem. It appears that self compassion may entail many of the psychological benefits that have been associated with self esteem, overlapping, but with fewer of its pitfalls. What is it? Self compassion represents a positive emotional stance towards oneself, in that one extends feeling of kindness, caring, etc. It helps to motivate productive behavior, protect against the factors that self judgment as a depression, anxiety, self compassion, however, is not based on the performance evolution of self and others, or on congruence with ideal standard. Fact, self compassion takes the entire self evolution process out of the picture, focusing on feeling of compassion towards oneself and the recognition of one's common humanity rather than making positive or negative self judgment. Mean to say, this is not basically particularly self judgment. What we have to do, we have to humanity, we have to make towards oneself and recognition of one's common humanity. This is actually counter the tendencies toward narcissism. Narcissism is a type of personality that is a very negative one, or I do not have this much time to discuss with you, but this is a very important personality and self centeredness that may stem from attempts to maintain high self esteem, enhancing feeling of connection to other rather than setting oneself up in opposition to other as a depression and anxiety. So, the idea behind self compassion is that paradoxically, healthy and constructive self attitude stem in part from de emphasizing the separate self rather than merely building up the solidifying one's separate and unique identity. Self compassion also represents a balanced integration between concern with oneself and concern with others, a state that researchers are increasingly recognizing as essential to optimal psychological functioning. This balance does not stem from pitting concern with oneself against concern with other and finding some sort of compromise halfway point. Instead, it is recognized that all individuals should be treated with kindness. When you talk, I am talking about totally about self compassion. When you feel yourself very kind, when you think that kindness is there, when you not be critical, when you not be going to be negative, you can deal people with that kindness, which promote your positive attitude, your what you say, behavior, positive behavior, positive attitude, your self regulation, optimistic behavior, everything. So this is all about my side. I do not have this much time to share all the fact there are, apart from managing stress and compassion, there are so many other factors, that is lifestyle change. Lifestyle change consists of number of things. If you will follow, you will develop a very good positive mental health. Thanks. G.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a nice, wonderful explanation and provide us an insight about these valuable things in a systematic and scientific way. Uh, Ma'am, personal question is from my side. You can also observe that in present scenario, there is a increase in the rate of suicides. It is
Mm.
said that in every 40 seconds in this planet, an individual commits suicide. So, what will be your insight or advice to how we can stop or manage these kind of situations in present era?
Samya, this is a very good question, but just I wanted to discuss that this is a very the issue can be dealt with very carefully. That is not those who committed suicide or think of suicide. That not only is a simple and you say it's not a simple problem. It's a very very it's a big problem, or you can say it depends what kind of issues they are facing. Not only the stress is one factor, that is the very important factor I told you, and we can talk about. We do not have this much time. The case of Rajasthan, have you come across the medical students? They all have done suicide and all, overstressed. Overstressed, stressed is there, but apart from stress, I thought today talk only about the self compassion and management responsible for that, right? So parents, teachers, and law, everything should be there to help them. And first thing what I emphasis over here is social support, and I myself self family support. So family is a very good support for doing all these one way. And the another way, in the answer of your question, family itself are responsible for that. If your child is not like to go to, don't want to be the doctor, why you are forcing them to be the doctor? If they are saying it's not possible for us to go, why don't you are giving time to your kids? Very important to give time. How can they, to managing stress, they have also managed, parents role is also there, very very important. So I think it should start from the family, parents, peer. Peer are very so important now the time in current scenario. The sea environment is peers are like that. So we have to keep everything. We should be attentive towards that, what our child is doing, what they are doing, whether they are capable of doing this or not. We should not force them to do that. We should take the interest of their. We have to keep in mind each and every aspects of their life. Why we are saying 24 into 7? Everybody is busy with their smartphones, everybody is busy with their laptop. Why don't we are sleeping at 9 o'clock or 9:30 or 10 o'clock? Why we are sleeping at 5:30 and 3:30, sorry, morning, in the morning 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, or taking all these things? These are not the way. So it's a very big debate, right? Why they are doing? There are so many circumstances. They are weak by their self-esteem. That is the known one. Here also this is very important. They are very weak, so they can't cope with the situation. They can cope, they can talk to their parents, they can discuss with their teacher, they can discuss with their peers. So this is one factor. Then family structure, that is another factor. And parents time, that is also very important. And this all status symbol now that is providing so much facilities, providing them without doing anything, we are providing them each and everything. That is also a factor. So they wanted to make themselves just to the next of their peer, just to next of their neighbor, but they are not going to see their boundary. So they should be there in their boundary. So it's a very important question, and for that we have to another factor is also very important for that.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for providing real insights about this in a very short way. Ma'am, you have a vast experience with the students in the field of psychology. So,
Hmm.
through this, I just want to ask that what will be your advice to the mental health professionals as well as the psychology students and the aspirants in today's world? What will be your advice to these people?
First, to what I say, stay in your boundary. Boundary, you understand? Not that boundary. वो एक हिंदी की कहावत है, जितनी चद्दर है उतना पैर फैलाइए, राइट? सो यू हैव टू बी, यू सी द कैपेसिटी. हमने अभी आपको स्ट्रेस में बताया कि वी हैव टू लुक आफ्टर द नेचर ऑफ द स्ट्रेस, नेचर ऑफ द स्ट्रेसर्स. जो हम डेली हैसल्स के स्ट्रेस से डील करते हैं वो हम कैटासिस्मिक में डील नहीं कर पाएंगे. अगर एक फ्लड आया या सुनामी आई या टेररिस्ट एक्टिविटीज हो गई, वी हैव टू डील डिफरेंटली. सो सेम हेयर, व्हाट आई वांट टू से, दे हैव टू बी वेरी first they have to, and they have to change their lifestyle. Lifestyle is very important, right? Lifestyle is very important. If they have fever, they have to go to doctor, but on the other side they have to go for yoga, they have to go for walk, they have to take good food. That is also very important. All the students, all everybody is based on the junk foods and pizza and what you say, burger, pizza, cold drink, and all. Taking is not a bad thing. They are following the Western's culture, but their pattern, their culture, their atmosphere is different from us. So they have to look after all these things. Very importantly, they have to discuss whatsoever the problem they are. They have to discuss with their parents, with their teachers. If they think that things going beyond, they should go to the counselor also.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I just want to take a last question from our audience side. I just want to your insight in very short way, ma'am. He wants to ask, ma'am, how much the compassion in today's world is important and how it should be adopted for the psychological upliftment.
It is very important. We think that is related. That is not a new term. Buddhism, I have given you that it has come from the Buddhism one, but scientific studies has also done. If you remember the theory of Rogers, he talked about the humanities, right? तो वहां पे क्या था? 3 things are very important: self congruence, self empathy, है ना, unconditional love. Why he is providing unconditional love? He is providing unconditional love just to make a good friend to their clients, so that they can understand their things, what is there in their mind, right? So this is very important. So this is very important. We students, some students are taking not only psychology, other students are also moving towards that word, but some are very, you can't say to what, school, college, we all have to provide them these kinds of behavior. We have to keep that. The compassion should be there. We have to deal with this is very, very important for everyone, according to me. And for, as a being a teacher of psychology, self is very important for all of us. Self talk, self esteem, self perception, self regulation, self relation. If you talk to me, I will say first you have to look after yourself. अगर आप ही स्ट्रांग नहीं है तो हाउ कैन यू डील विद द सिचुएशन? इफ यू हैव अ problem, if you want to, some thought comes in your mind for suicidal activities or anything, one should talk to. What is the harm to talk to anybody? Why we are arranging all these mental health issues? Just to remove the stigma, right? That's why we are arranging programs. We are just spreading awareness among the, that this is nothing, this is the part of that. When we have sugar, we are going to take medicine. When we have blood pressure, we are going, if you have anything related to your mental issues, you can come forward, you discuss. If you have a thought like suicide, you talk to your friends, you talk to your mother, you talk to your teacher. Whenever, wherever you feel it is easy, releasing is very important. अगर आप रिलीज करते हैं, दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. अगर आप रिलीज करते हैं तो आपका आधा तो जो आपका भार है ना, वो वहां पे कम हो जाता है. तो दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. तो एज अ साइकोलॉजी टीचर, आई विल जस्ट कन्वे दैट they should discuss what are the problem they are facing. They should also try, they should also, and don't think कि I am less. कुछ बच्चे कहीं पे बहुत अच्छे होते हैं, कुछ बच्चे कहीं पे बहुत अच्छे होते हैं. स्पीयरमैन की एक थियरी थी कि एक जनरल इंटेलिजेंस और एक स्पेशल इंटेलिजेंस. तो व्हाट ही सेड कि जनरल तक तो सब पहुंचे ही हैं. इफ दे आर इन सेकेंड ईयर, फर्स्ट ईयर, ट्वेल्थ, दे आर द जनरल इंटेलिजेंस. कोई बच्चा बहुत अच्छी पेंटिंग करता है, ही इज ऑल्सो वेरी गुड. कोई बच्चा बहुत अच्छा टेक्निकल काम करता है, दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी गुड. कोई बच्चा पढ़ने में बहुत अच्छा है. तो कैन नॉट कंपेयर योर सेल्फ with others that he is doing this, I am not doing. You are excel in this, they are excel in another part. Even with parents should not compare their child with others. आप लोगों को तो पेरेंट्स का भी सेशन करना चाहिए.
Sure,
Are
ma'am.
you satisfied with the question?
Yes, ma'am. We are very satisfied, and it is really adoptable things as you told to us on this platform. Ma'am, before winding up today's session, at last, what will be your conclude remark through this session to all the world and humanity? आप इस सेशन के माध्यम से पूरे विश्व और मानवता के लिए संक्षेप में क्या संदेश देना चाहेंगे?
मैं पूरे विश्व को ये संदेश देना करती हूँ, स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम माय फैमिली टू एवरीवेयर, कि जो हमारा मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज हैं, दैट इज नॉट द इशू. कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. और कहीं पे आपको झाड़ने वाले, फूकने वाले, और वो कहते हैं तंत्र मंत्र, यहाँ वहाँ नहीं जाना है. अगर आपकी इशू थोड़ी सी है, एंजाइटी थोड़ी सी है, तो आप उसको डील करिए काउंसलर से मिलके, पेरेंट्स से मिलके, टीचर्स से मिलके. लेकिन अगर आपको लगता है कि आपकी एंजाइटी बढ़ती जा रही है, आपका जो मेंटल प्रेशर है वो बढ़ता जा रहा है, और आप डिप्रेशन में जा रहे हैं, तो वैसे तो आप डिप्रेशन शब्द को अपनी डिक्शनरी से हटा दीजिए, ठीक है. लेकिन फिर भी due to any circumstances, due to anything, if you become the victim of that severe anxiety or anything, immediately, without thinking any second thought, you have to visit to the psychiatrist. यानी कि मेंटल हेल्थ प्रोफेशनल्स के पास जाएं. इसमें कोई शर्म नहीं है, कोई बात नहीं है. और पेरेंट्स को भी चाहिए, बच्चों को लेके जाएं, कोई इशू नहीं है, दिखाएं और उनका ट्रीटमेंट कराएं, उनको काउंसलिंग दें. बहुत छोटा मोटा है तो ये हमारी वाली टेक्निक्स करें, एक्सरसाइज करें, योगा करें, और अपना लाइफ स्टाइल को चेंज करें, तो डेफिनेटली चेंज आएगा. चेंज तो आना ही है. यू हैव टू मैनेज अकॉर्डिंगली. So, according to me, this is not a stigma. So, no one, even the teacher, even the community, even the family, should not think in that manner that this is a stigma. This is nothing. इसको भी क्योर कर सकते हैं. इसको भी आप, मैंने बहुत ऐसे पेशेंट्स को कम अक्रॉस, दे आर डूइंग देयर लाइफ, डेली लाइफ वेरी वेरी नाइसली. बहुत बहुत अच्छे पदों पे भी वो हैं और बहुत अच्छा काम भी कर रहे हैं. तो ऐसा ये कुछ भी नहीं है कि ये मेंटल हेल्थ इशू जो है कोई स्टिग्मा है. तो हमें बिल्कुल इसको केयरफुल होके और करना चाहिए. और वी पीपल आर डूइंग, वी पीपल आर just awareing, we are just spreading awareness among all that this is not a stigma. तो बहुत बढ़िया, आप लोगों ने भी अच्छा किया. मैंने भी कहा कि this is a good cause, so I should not say no, I should say yes to you people. So thank you so much.